Welcome back. This is episode 2 of the Performance Management video series, and today we'll explore a deeper definition of this term, performance management. When I'm training leaders and employees in client companies on this topic, I'll typically ask a very fundamental question of the attendees in the session, whether they're frontline employees or they're even senior level leaders. What's your fiscal year? Oftentimes, there's an awkward silence in the room, even for those experienced leaders. And someone may bravely speak up in a somewhat questioning manner to cover themselves. They may say, I think our fiscal year is January through December. So why the hesitancy? Why do so many employees and managers alike seem unaware of their company's business year? Such a fundamental element. But it goes to the disconnect to some degree in the communications value chain at every level of a company that doesn't emphasize the following. Each employee plays a critical role in our achieving this fiscal year's success. It also indicates that so often, once we get into the work of a business year, we're putting out fires and solving problems in the moment, and we lose that sense of context related to why we're doing this work at all. It's intended to be as it relates to how successful we'll be in the course of the year and what we hope to achieve at the end of that business year. So there's no radical set of new methodologies that I'll be referencing in this series. Even though I'm intrigued with every new shiny object that comes along in the form of software tools and business books on the topic, again, it's unsettled science. It is such a human endeavor that it's often revisited. Consider this your roadmap in which you can reference along your performance management journey. I noted in my introductory session that some companies move through their business year flexing to opportunities, moving from moment to moment with agility, pivoting their operations when conditions warrant. And many smaller companies can take advantage of that approach, optioning not to go through the formalities of detailed planning as they head into the new year. And these companies are oftentimes more closely held or likely don't have the oversight of a board of directors, but sometimes they do. They just may be at an earlier stage, just getting started, and they're usually given a bit more room to define themselves along the way. Yet for most companies, when entering a new business year, defining their corporate objectives is an imperative. And the sound logic here is that the process is based on the fact that every company has limited resources, financial and human. Thus, they have to be able to track their progress along the way against those limited resources to get maximum possible outcomes. And this is the essence of total performance. And thus, we view it this way. It's worth noting that successful total performance management, quite simply, starts at the top. What gets modeled gets done. So we'll talk further about the role of senior leadership in determining how successful companies will be in their total performance management programs. If you're committed to successful total performance management, it's dependent on how much senior leadership gets behind it and models the right behaviors. And you'll recall that working definition is performance management is an active process of aligning human performance to corporate direction. So let's break that definition down into some key elements that happen in some fashion for most organizations. First, assuming a company enters its business year, its fiscal year, with a commitment to set goals, several cascading events fall into place once the company has determined its core annual direction or objectives, goals. Financial resources and budgets get established. Human resource determinations are identified that can be applied to support the company goals. So financial resources, budgets, how people will focus their time and energies on the company goals. This is the intentionality of going into a new business year. Then throughout the year, performance, whether it's company or department or individual, can be tracked along the way. That's the spirit of this. These are the best intentions of many companies. Whether it holds up or not, we'll continue to explore that along the way. And for companies that move quickly, they may have near-term goals that they'll adjust or they'll complete them and they'll start new ones, or they may put certain goals on hold so that they can adjust other things, again, because they have limited financial and people resources. So they adjust to the business conditions as warranted. And for those that are rigorous in the process, they may be very attuned to tracking all of these activities as the ebb and flow of the business year unfolds. For many other organizations, individuals and teams simply adjust to the needs as they present themselves, putting out fires along the way. So, success can be determined based on what's going well and what should be improved real time to the speed of the business. And ultimately, at the end of a business year, an assessment is made on results against key goals, such as the revenue attained, or the profit achieved, or the success of projects that were identified, if they existed at all. And where possible, rewards budgets are partially or fully funded at this point. This is a large reason why we do performance management. We want to have a fair mechanism to determine how we reward our most successful employees so that we have the best opportunity to maintain their engagement, commitment, and their highest level potential going into the next fiscal year. But along the way, employees should receive feedback. If this is going well, then preferably real-time feedback right when it's most beneficial on what's going well and where someone can improve and how they're doing against the established goals, if they have them at all, ensures that employees know where they stand. And then finally, employees then have a chance to receive financial rewards to the extent that they are available, especially for most companies who assert that they are a pay-for-performance company. We hear this quite often. We're a pay-for-performance company. And this is the mechanism. Performance management is the means by which there's a chance of fairness of determination, because you have all these other contributing factors. What are we tracking? What's most important to the success of the company, its departments, its individuals, and then how do we reward for success? So those are the typical elements of a performance management program. In short, a company may commit to a performance management program, applying many of these elements, yet far too often, even with the most established companies, they find themselves veering away from their high-level goals, opting to pivot quickly to business opportunities that emerge throughout the year. And those pivots are understandable, yet at an effective performance management program in that type of environment, the best programs adjust to these opportunities and stay responsive through periods of unplanned change. And we'll also take a look at the best practices associated with these nimble types of performance management programs. If you're in a quick response culture that's not maintained throughout the course of the year, it's likely that your company may be falling short of its potential and it'll miss its corporate targets. In other words, a performance management process just can't stay stagnant. It has to move in response to all the feeding conditions that will determine how a company can be most successful and be nimble as new opportunities warrant. I hope you'll tune in for session 3 of this series. In that program, I'll focus on how a company's incoming and outgoing flow of work will shape its performance management program. See you then.